Okay, my name's Ali Robertson. I'm a learning technologist from West Lothian College, and my sort of involvement in AI has been probably the same as most people. Probably over the last 5 months, 5 to 4 months, I've looked at it. I'd never really seen it before, but I was really interested in it. And I sort of posed myself a question for this presentation. So, using natural language processing and prompt engineering, can I channel my creativity to produce consistent images for a graphic novel project? And NLP, or natural language processes, and NLP is the shortened version of it, and prompts. This is where humans interface with the generative learning machines, and it's enabled through chatbots to reach the optimal completion of the direct tasks or tasks that they give themselves. And I just thought, just to sort of recap, because you probably talked all day about AIs and how it works, and I just thought this is quite a nice, easy little graphic to show. And it just gives a direction of what happens with a prompt once you've made it. So what I need from the AI. So engineer the most accurate prompt to reach the most optimal completion. Consider correct natural language processing to be used in the construction of the prompt. And then use the tokenizer, especially with ChatGPT, because it's ChatGPT, to measure your token usage, because everything comes at a cost. Although we don't see it when we use free betas, that eventually these things will cost, and subscription models are based around token usage. So input the prompt on your first step, the bot then channels it to the learning machine. The learning machine then creates the reply, the bot delivers back, and then you end up with a completion. The reason I showed this infographic, because it's really quite straightforward, and I don't want to get mired in how things do things, because that to me, it just needs to be straightforward. And I use this to explain to students that I was working with this morning. I showed this to, and they kind of got the idea of what AI was, because they weren't quite sure. So if we just move on to the next slide. So what engineers a successful prompt in ChatGPT and Midjourney, and any text-based led sort of prompt? You have to be really specific. Stately clear the question, state your question, and minimize the ambiguity. And I found this, especially with images, and I'll talk later on about images. So use concise language, so be short, accurate. This helps stop incompletions. So you tend to be on ChatGPT, I've always put in a prompt and it comes back, it just doesn't like it. And I always thought, oh, what have I done wrong? So there's loads of parameters that you can put in a prompt, and if you put an invalid parameter, especially in an image prompt, the AI tends to not read it and just say, no, I can't do that. And it's quite interesting, because I didn't really think about parameters. I'm not a coder. I don't know coding. I'm a creative person. I know photography, videography. And this to me is where I can excel, because I don't know coding and it's learning me. So I'm actually getting ChatGPT to teach me coding to a certain degree, because I need to learn that. Especially the parameter side of image generation is really quite important if you want to be concise and get accuracy within it. And then avoid leading questions. Stops the completion. It can imply certain answers and lead towards bias in the response. Structure and step-by-step guides is your fourth sort of step. And then, so expand on the guides to create more depth in the completions. So we talk about in AI, we talk about a 0 shot, a 1 shot, and a few shots. And a 0 shot is probably what most people have encountered, but that is like, you don't give an example, whereas a 1 shot, you give one example and it leads. And I will go on and show this in the next slides. And the few shots is where you structure. And I done one this morning to show a class that I was doing a talk with this morning. and we done 36 replies. And that's what you would call a few shots. So you actually then invoke a conversation with the AI, and it's a really good way of structuring how you get your replies and build up your completions. Another one is use multiple choice yes no questions. So where appropriate, can help channel the responses. So you're actually given the parameters in natural language to the AI, and iterate and refine. So you need to channel your responses, and then refine them down. And that's what I do. That's how I tend to use ChatGPT for other things around what I'm doing in the images. And control response length. So specify desired lengths. The form to create optimal completion. So give it a response length. What are you looking for? 1,000 words, 40 words, up to 52,000 words if you use ChatGPT 4. So to me, that's what makes up a really successful prompt, is if you pull all these together and formulate the prompt. So just move on to the next slide. So we all talk about the first chatbot I'm going to talk about is obviously ChatGPT 3, and I know that most of the conversation has been on that today. So I'm really going to skip over this. Not skip over it, but I'll go more in depth into the image generation. So ChatGPT 3, are currently using GPT-3 as the learning machine. We've got Plus as a subscription model, and your Plus users have access to GPT-4. GPT-4 will come on, and I've got no doubt within months that what I'm talking about here will be totally irrelevant, because GPT-5 will come out and blow everything out the water, because I think as humans we can't keep up with this. We just need to understand it and know that this is a natural, it's a evolution of AI, and we're part of that, and part of what to our sector is how do we implement that into education ethically and fair use and good use of it, and how we design what we use from it. So ChatGPT 3 bot uses, like most of the ones, natural language processing. And the image generation bot I'm going to talk about obviously is Midjourney. This bot, the image generation is done through Discord, which a lot of people dislike, but again, it's a means to an end for Midjourney. They're using it as a vehicle to produce the image generation. So, and again, it's text-based prompts, but then it goes on to you, if you use a combination of natural language processing and parameters, you can really create really amazing images. And to me, I was wowed by the images, I'm not going to lie. But then I look, as a photographer, as a videographer, my past makes me look for consistency, look for accuracy, and the wow factor kind of dissipates when you try and achieve that, but then it suddenly comes along the next again day and makes it really all exciting again. So that's what I'm kind of trying to say, is that we will be taking up whatever I say today. This could change 3 weeks down the line. So at this point with Midjourney, this is where I am. So natural language processing, it's a branch of artificial intelligence that focuses on enabling machines to understand, interpret, and generate human language. So NLP is really important in that. And what are the benefits and the disadvantages of NLP? So what's the disadvantages? The advantages. Benefits are you get improved accessibility, you get increased efficiency, you get better accuracy. It really does enhance personalization if you really push the bot to do what it's capable of doing, and improve decision making. The disadvantages, and we all hear this, there's disadvantages with AI. So we do have a problem. There is bias, because essentially the internet is biased, politically biased. I did notice that ChatGPT, probably about 2 weeks ago, put out a really quite comprehensive piece of work on what bias was and how they recognise within the development of GPT-4, GPT-3 and ChatGPT 3 plus and 4, is that they recognise this and they're working on it. And remember, AI is at an embryonic stage, and Donald Clark said this at Glasgow the other week. It's learning, so it has to learn what bias is. It has to learn, and it's doing it at a rate that we can't comprehend. So I'm sure that all these things that are disadvantages will be superfluous to this, because it will learn them. So the next one would be limited domain expertise. So you wouldn't get a chatbot that deals with, I don't know, general medical practice like a Google doctor thing to become a surgeon, to give you surgical advice. So again, it's limited. So remember that in general, information coming back is really good, but when you hone it down to expertise, that's where it really, it could flourish, or it will flourish in the future. And I hate this next word because I'm dyslexic, so this word is like a nightmare to me. So interpretability. And that then gives the NLP model. Some of them find it difficult to interpret. So they arrive at their own predictions. And I call this kind of like a hallucination effect that it has with AI. So actually you ask it something, but interprets it wrong and gives you a total off-the-wall answer. And that does happen because, as I say, it's an embryonic learning machine. It will get to the point where it understands it, but it doesn't quite. If you don't give it the tools to interpret, how's it going to do it? Performance degradation sometimes has difficulty working with other languages. And again, this is part of the learning process. Data quality can be, they train on large models of high quality data, but if the data isn't good, so the training will be poor, and that's a disadvantage. So quality of data going in has to be at a really good level. And computational resources means that some AIs will be out with our reach. We won't be able to use them on standard user interfaces. So if I move on, I'm going to move on to ChatGPT prompts. So my first prompt, okay. So my first prompt, this was sent to me probably in October, late October, and probably everybody's seen this. It was somebody I knew found it on Twitter and sent it to me, and I thought, what is this? And then I suddenly got kind of inspired to go and look at AI. And I kind of noticed that if you look at it, it does give what marketing analogies to how the prompt is broken down. So yes, give it a word count. Why give it a word count? You give it a word count because it gives accuracy. Uses a software name, it could be a subject name, it could be a lesson name. Again, gives direction, personalization to the prompt. Call to action. Improves the decision in the decision-making process. And the USP, or unique selling proposition, is it's a variable. This is what it adds to the end of the completion. And as you can see underneath it, this is the reply. So this is it does what it says on the tin. Gives you a 40-word video script all about Swift Journal. And if that is 40 words, I actually did sit and count it and say, yeah, it's 40 words because it's got a full stop in it, and there's two full stops in between the I and the O. And it gets, so that has a degree of accuracy. And then to me, that sort of prompted me to go and learn more. So what I did on the 17th of March was ask ChatGPT what is prompt engineering, because I wanted an AI to sort of, not because I don't know it, but what does a chatbot think of itself and what happens. So prompt engineering refers to a process that's about designing and fine-tuning. It elicits specific responses. It involves using the language structure of the prompt to guide AI. So it's trial and error. And that's the big thing. That's what I want to say. Trial and error experimentation is a big thing that we do in the creative industries. So the prompt of the goal of prompt engineering is really to optimize the performance and the accuracy of the models and the models work behind, using natural language processing to link humans with the AIs. So what's in the prompt? So the prompt, consider, and I've spoken about this already, so consider the type of prompt. Is it going to be a 0 shot, a 1 shot, a few shot? I tend to start off with a 0 shot and then I slowly go to a few shots because I know that I'm not having to refine it. Create the prompt, formulate it, add it to the bot, look at, consider your tokens you're using, consider your intended output for your completions. And then take it, if you're in ChatGPT 3, you could do, or 4, you can take it to the tokenizer, check how your value of your prompt and how you can bring it down in size. So a simple one is, write me a report as your first line of the prompt. Why do you have to have me in it? You can just have write and report. So write report, and do you need to use on the, and just give the subject and cut down the amount of tokens that you're using just for the prompt, but you're still giving it accurate guidance. And finally, collect your prompt and use your completion. And that's where you take it, break it down, sense check it. Make sure that what it's saying is not this hallucinatory interpreting machine that's taking it and taking you in a different direction. So that's really important to sense check. So just quickly for ChatGPT, I've got 2 here. These are great 2 models to use. I've added links in at the end. There's a free resource that comes with this that expands on all this, and use them and have a look at them. And there is some awesome ones in these 2. I really like this one, and I changed the subject to digital photography. So this is, to me, is, I'm giving it an example. So this is probably a 1 shot, and underneath is the completion. But I will leave people to go and have a look at that because the completion is quite comprehensive when it does it. But again, it needs to be sense checked. But you can go back into this and have a look at that. And if I move to the next one, and then the second one, I went to see Snoop Dogg last week, and I thought, I'm going to put another one in, but this time I'm going to want it to act as. So if you want ChatGPT to act as something, tell it, give it instructions. That's what I'll do. And what this done was then went on and wrote me a rap song. Now, how we use that in life, it could be for a music student. It could just inspire ideas, and I feel that's what we need to glean through this, is taking ideas. And again, if you go through so a summary is, how do we move forward? How do we move forward in the sector? I think with an ethical vision and approach to designing purposeful prompts, the impact of this will ensure accurate completions with minimal impact on tokens. So this is where I'm going to leave text-based, and I'm going to spend the last remainder of the time on images. And if I just go like that, and if anybody wants to look at that, they can see that. So, a quick introduction. Midjourney, they're quite secretive, but they're a multi-level subscription offering, and they're quite secretive about their bot. They don't give much away. They're a small company, 10 people, I think, is what they employ somewhere in California. I think they use a combination of learning machines. They say they're not multimodal, but as you can see on the screen, this was a screenshot taken yesterday for the community page. And these are, I think I put in a filter to show only version 5. General public have access to version 4. Subscription models have the subscription models they have, you can get access to level of version 5 at the moment. And I've got that because I pay for a subscription. So what we're going to look at next is my first images. So these were the first prompts I ever used. feel free to use the prompts. Go into Midjourney, you get 25 queries. 25 queries just means 25 attempts at an image. It doesn't mean that you get 25 attempts with 4 upscales. It means every time that you create an image from a query, you get that attempt. And as you can see, I put a French Bulldog because this is the same as my dog. So I was pretty impressed. In the actual Japanese wall art, I've actually printed that onto ceramic enamel, and it's on my wall in my house. So my journey with Midjourney. I want to create a graphic novel. How do I do that? So I've researched it. I've looked at the 25 queries, went and tried it. And really I thought, I'm lost with that. I can't do this. It's too complicated. And I was dumb. I was trying to do too much in my head when I was doing it. So I kind of brought it down. I went and looked at alternatives. I looked at probably the most popular one at the moment between Midjourney is Stable Diffusion, which they're pretty similar. And Stable Diffusion drives Yule, it drives Dream Studio, and I also looked at another one called Blue Willow, which runs through Discord. And then I kind of wasn't getting what I wanted from it. So I returned to Midjourney, and I decided I would take the leap and pay for the subscription, just sheerly on the fact that realism was on round the corner, and it is here now. So, and then I started to look about thinking, why am I not getting anywhere with these prompts? And I found this whole host of prompt generators that I'd never ever thought about. And this really was the key for me to start creating consistent images. So I created a base image, and then probably took that, tried it in Midjourney, tried the prompt first, and that didn't work. It worked, but it didn't get the results I wanted. So I went and looked at Noonshot, and Noonshot is produced by Midjourney, and it is a prompt generator. It will write the prompts for you. You put the ideas in, and then it gives you filtration to be able to change and make things consistent. And then I've started developing, and I've finished my very first artwork for the graphic novel. And I went and done a wee bit of research, and I looked for Noonshot, and I looked for Tokenized HQ, because it was Tokenized HQ kind of through YouTube and everything that I found these little blogs on Midjourney. And these are great resources, honestly. If you get a chance, click on Tokenized HQ, go and have a look at the videos, and you start to realize that it's not so far away in my dream. So, and this was the first prompt I used. So this was a prompt I've already used, I've already created, and then took it and I created these images yesterday with this prompt. I'm not going to break it down too much. The first part, my part of the prompt, is me describing. There is some syntax in there. So the triple exclamation mark pulls the AI to look at that. Commas then split it up into descriptive parts. And then I started to notice parameters, and that really was where I sort of caught hold of what I needed to know. So if I quickly go through this. So copy and paste the prompt into Noonshot. So all I've done there is I've just copied and pasted that prompt that you've seen at the top, and then it configures it. It configures it into a prompt for you. And that was good, because then I noticed all these filtration things at the bottom. So add parameters. So I went in and I added parameters. And these parameters are here. And all I'm doing there is put in an inspiration image, which I had on my hard drive. I'm not going to explain seeding because I'm really just learning it now, but so you get an identification number for that image, which is called a seed, and it's held. If you see, this is my Midjourney front page. I then take that image. So this is the image that inspires the character. I add the seed into the image and just press OK. And that now gives me inspiration. That gives the AI a direction. But as you can see, the prompt's got bigger. So it adds in the parameters, it adds in the location of the inspiration that you're adding. And as you can see, I go into styles, I can add to weight, so there's a lot of talk around these wee lightning bolts, which adds weight to it, so it adds more color saturation, adds more detail into specific areas. And I use an inspiration from Yoji Shikano, who was the brains behind Death Stranding and Metal Gear Solid art in there. That was the kind of art I was looking for. So okay, so and then I go to Discord. Discord again. Add the prompt into Discord. You use a / imagine. That is how on Discord the bots work. Then a prompt colon, and up comes. And you can click on this as soon as you put it in, click on it, and then add your prompt. And what it does is it then will generate it. On the paid one, it stays. What the really annoying thing about Discord is it's pushing everybody else's, so it layers up the way. And finally, at the bottom, once the prompt's in place, you will see that there's 2 lines, 4 buttons. They say U 1, 2, 3, 4, which is denoting, because you always get 4 images. And U means upscale, so you change the detail, the size of the file. And variations, it gives variations on the file. So quite advanced stuff, really. And this would then take us to the final image. And this is really the last part of my talk. And I know I'm running a wee bit over, Kenji, so sorry. But these are the completions. So these are the completed works I got. And I'm going to just quickly run through them. And I did change the aspect ratio, which you can do with parameters. You couldn't really do that at the start of AIs, but it's developing all the time. And this is the first upscale. So again, it's added more detail in, more images of fire. I had put in, I wanted an explosion in it, and that's there. And then I wanted to refine it more, so this was another upscale. So you can see there's a blue image coming in, and through that, although that prompt doesn't say all this, this is what gets me as I was thinking this. So that's, and then if we look at variations, so you can see it does give you different variations on the scene. Because I said cyberpunk, it gives me a cyberpunk view. There's loads of way of influencing this. And this is the final completed one that I'm going to use. And I'm going to use this in the graphic novel, and I'll dedicate it to my talk at CDN. And the final one I'm going to show you, this is after my involvement. This is a final completion with any work that I've done on any color bleeds or anything. And this is the first image, the opening image from my graphic novel. And that's me, and thank you very much.
Clearly, I do want to read the graphic novel now. I mean, you've just whetted my appetite.
Yeah, and it will get there. It's in production. The AI is working as hard as it can. My input in the graphic novel is to put the ideas and the imagination into it, and I think we need to not lose that fact that this is imagination driven, and it's not us that's creating it. And I will always credit the AI with creating the images. Along with the graphic novel, when I'm finished, it's going to contain an education pack which gives every prompt for every image, and people can take my words as a Creative Commons and go in and create their own graphic novel. So if anybody has any questions, I'll try my best to answer them, but I am a learner. I'm not an expert, and I'm always, the AI is the expert. It's my imagination that's just driving it.
So I know when I've used ChatGPT in the past, it's taken me a bit of time to work out exactly how to use the language and specific prompts that will have certain effects on the results. Midjourney was always more difficult for me because it was it's quite technical, and there are certain aspects to the prompts which are a bit beyond me, and I may have given up after some effort.
I think that's the case, Kenji, because I kind of gave up with it really early as well, and I thought I'm not getting what I want. But then it took me to go and look at the other AIs to say, okay, we need to then, and AIs are developing all the time. So this is the reason we have now got a whole host of prompt generation models where you just put your ideas in and it generates the prompt for you. And that's the degree of accuracy that AIs will give you over time. And timing, you have to invest time in it. I took my final image to a digital artist that I know really well, and I asked him to quantify it in time for me. And he said 40 hours at 120 quid an hour. To me, that image took me 25 minutes, but 54 years of learning prior to that. Do you see what I mean? So I use my expertise as a photographer and understanding composition, but then I have to understand natural language to put that into effect within the AI. So
well,
it really.
I have to thank you for that. Unfortunately, that's us coming up to the end of our sessions for today.